It's about that time for some Sports Zone. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Zach Wolchuk. As always, we have a great show for you. We'll be discussing Dallas Cowboys football as they continue to roll during a 4-game winning streak. We will all mourn together following an early postseason exit for the Texas Rangers. And we will have a very special segment talking some Dallas Stars hockey. But let's get things started with North Texas football. Joining me to kick things off is Taylor Phillips and Alejandro Espinoza. Gentlemen, how about that 38-21 win for the Mean Green?
What a huge win for the program. Moving up to 3-3, and we'll get into this later in the segment. We might be talking bowl game with this team.
Three wins, halfway there.
It was a good team effort overall. I mean, the defense played amazing. Our rushing yards were 254 yards. Our punter had a good game, too. I mean, 18 rushing yards.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Eric Hina on a fake punt just took it off that right side, and a little fisticuffs afterwards, both sidelines. What did you think of that? And do you think that really helped boost North Texas to go on and really push away in this game from Marshall?
It's an iffy play because it negated the yards. They got the first down.
They extended the drive.
They extended the drive, but they also had to go backwards. I'm saying when you're playing,
take the good and the bad, Taylor.
I'm saying when you have games like that you know you're going to win, don't give yourself a reason to lose the game.
And I'm pretty sure Latrell even agrees with us. I mean, never, ever start a fight. I mean, we saw Eric Hina. He started the first contact, so that's what led to this whole fight. And Latrell probably talked with him. The special teams coach talked with him about it. Eric Hina should not be doing that. None of the players should ever be doing that.
And that's not to say that play is going to lose the game. I'm just saying that can come back to haunt some teams. They seem to have a pretty good handle on that one by that point, though.
What do you think was the biggest difference? Alejandro, we'll start with you here. Last week, the offense struggled a little bit. This week, an offensive explosion, 38 points. Now, granted, one of those was a defensive score, but Mason Fine and Jeffrey Wilson were controlling this game on the ground.
Without a doubt. And I mean, last week it was horrible. Against Middle Tennessee, we had 5 rushing yards, 9 penalties for 90 yards, and we didn't score again until the fourth quarter with Kelvin Smith. The only bright side was Mason Fine having a 300-yard gain, but last week's game against Marshall was amazing. Jeffrey Wilson had 188 yards. Willie Ivory took the spot for Wilson when he was down for 42 rushing yards. Fine had a good passing yardage. I mean, he was 18 of 28 for 208 yards, but it was still good enough. I mean, it was good for a quarterback like him. He did amazing. The receiving corps did good. The whole team just did amazing.
And for Fine, that was his highest passer efficiency rating of the year in the win. Yeah. But the stat that stuck out to me, they dominated the time of possession. And we've talked about how they have an air raid offense. Up-tempo, usually hard to really establish longer drives. Usually they can go quickly. If you go 3 and out, you might have 2 minutes a clock. They out time of possession Marshall, 37 minutes to 23 minutes. That's only the second time.
Dallas Cowboys football right there.
That's only the second time this year that they've won the time of possession battle. The other one was the Bethune-Cookman win. So you would hope not only are they extending drives, turning into points, and they did that in the win.
Let's talk about the culture of this team. A year ago, winless. Seth Latrell comes in, 3 wins. And like you said, we're possibly in position to make a bowl here for North Texas. Do you think Seth Latrell is due to change the culture of this team? Do you think there's a difference?
I do. I do think there's a huge difference. You can tell just from going to the games, people seem way more excited, even after the first win. They matched their win total from last year. One win shouldn't get you that excited. You could kind of see in the woodwork, Mason Fine would be the main reason. Some guys on defense, think about last game. Tyler Wilson filling in for the injured Rico Bussey. Had a great game, caught a touchdown pass. You had Brandon Gardner fill in for the injured Fred Scott. Led the team in tackles, had a couple sacks. You're starting to see players rising up through the ranks that are getting you excited as well as the culture of just the fans getting more excited.
And I somewhat agree with you, Taylor, but I mean, the culture of the team is changing, but we're not officially changed yet. I mean, if we all remember 2 years ago when Dan McCartney took us to a Heart of Dallas bowl game, 9-4, we all felt the culture changed, and it was good. A year later, we had a really bad season, 1-11. McCartney got fired after the homecoming game. With Latrell, yes, the culture is changing, but we don't know yet what's going to happen in the future.
But with McCartney, did you expect them to win that year? Because this year I didn't expect them to win 3 games, especially at this point in the season. But that team to me seemed different because they had some firepower on their team. Did you know that going into this season?
And we pretty much said the same. And we pretty much said the same thing then last 2 years ago when they went 9-4. Did we expect them to win a bowl game? I really didn't think so because the season before that we didn't have a good record either. We had only 4 games. So
were they coming off a 1-win season though?
No, they weren't.
That's
there were some good veteran players.
Even 3 wins. 3 wins at this point feels like 5. I mean, it feels like they beating Marshall. They had the best quarterback efficiency rating wise in the conference. They made them look very average in this game.
Do we think this team's bowl bound?
I think you need to beat UTSA and UTEP. I don't feel great about them beating Army coming off the bye
It's a tough
week.
win, especially on the road at West Point.
Exactly. Right. I think what it's going to come down to, assuming they win those other 2 games that I mentioned, they need to win one of those home games against La Tech or Southern Miss. I don't feel great about them beating Western Kentucky. La Tech has looked beatable. Southern Miss lost a very winnable game over the weekend to, I believe, UTSA.
You've got to beat either UTEP or UTSA.
Winning at home is going to be key for this team down the stretch.
I agree with you too, Taylor, but I don't agree with you about we're going to lose to Army, because we need to win 6 games. So 3 more games will be bowl official, but I'm confident we can beat Army.
Yes or no, Alejandro?
Yes.
Yes, bold man. Coming up next, we're going to talk some Dallas Cowboys football, so stay with us right here on SportsZone.
What is creativity?
The ability to probe into something you don't know, to answer questions previously not answered.
And resist the temptation to say what everybody else has said.
Using the different mediums, combining the different mediums.
It's taking what we have and reassembling it and using it in a different manner.
Describes what free people do.
It has something to do with dreaming. It's actually what life's all about.
UNT is more than 125 years in the making. To find new solutions, we create a new point of view. We know what's possible when creativity, originality, and independent thought converge. We're ranked a Tier 1 research university. We're home to excellence the size of Texas. Define your future at UNT and soar to new heights.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow.
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tidy.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
The earthquakes you see in movies are one thing, but real life is a completely different animal. Just because you can't predict an earthquake doesn't mean that you can't prepare for one. In the event of a real earthquake, you should drop, cover, and hold on. Visit ready.gov/earthquake and practice what to do to keep you and your family safe in the event of a real earthquake. And you'll be seen as a hero by your family and your loved ones.
Visit ready.gov/earthquake today.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. They're really the heart of this offense. We go as they go. I think they know that, and they come in each and every day, do a great job starting Monday, all throughout the week, and just the way they approach the game plan, the way they go about themselves.
That was Cowboys rookie quarterback Dak Prescott speaking about his offensive line. Dak and the Dallas Cowboys won their 4th straight game with a dominant home win over the Bengals and now sit all alone in first place in the NFC East. Hopping on board with me now is Jordan James and Peyton Russell. Jordan, let's start with you. What did you make of this dominant home win over the Bengals?
I thought it was a great win. From the beginning of the game, the Dallas Cowboys set the tone by jumping out on them scoring, and they went into halftime with a 21-0 victory.
Yes.
Credited that defense. Defense did a really good job. Having DeMarcus Lawrence back was really huge. It took pressure off the other defensive linemen, and they caused them to wreak havoc as far as going against Andy Dalton. The secondary as a whole shut down A.J. Green, holding A.J. Green to 50 yards. Credit Mo Claiborne, he's finally healthy.
That was
and
balling
Brandon
out
Carr.
this year.
So, yeah.
Hayden?
Well, I see you did a good job of crediting the defense, but you got to give credit to Ezekiel Elliott. What he's been able to do, he has impressed each game. He started out 51 rushing yards against the Giants. Then he went to 81 against the Redskins. These last 3 games, he has had 3 straight games of 100-plus yards rushing, 134, 138 last game. He has a total of 546 rushing yards. That's better than 23 teams in the NFL combined.
Yeah, that's good and all, but I mean, I believe that the reason why Ezekiel is performing so well is because of the offensive line. But, you got three Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, so that's really why he's been.
You got to give credit when credit is due.
I know he's been playing
this
good.
guy is physical. He's a big guy. He wants to get to the end zone. That 60-yard rushing touchdown was huge to me. How he's been able to find his way through the gap.
Yeah.
How good do you think Zeke really is, Peyton? Do you think he's the best running back in football right now?
Rookie of the year, without a doubt. What he's been able to prove to me, he is what you call a coachable guy. He learns from his mistakes. He's without a doubt the Rookie of the Year candidate. What he's been able to do through 5 games, wait till he's been through 10 games, 15 games.
Yeah, I agree with you also, and right behind him is DeMarco Murray. So, but Zeke Elliott has really been good this season. Not only is he a good runner, he's a good pass protector. That's why the Cowboys drafted him. The Cowboys drafted him. They said not only does he make our offense better, he makes our whole team better. And now the Cowboys are seeing that. The Cowboys are back to their physical identity that they had when DeMarco Murray was here.
Let's talk about that offensive line. You guys touched on it a little bit, and this might be why Zeke is so good. Do you think this offensive line is the most dominant unit in all of pro football?
I think so. Just every game, they seem to get better and better. Even with Tyron Smith being out the last game for Chaz Green to step in there and just plug in a player, their offensive line coach is doing a really good job getting this team ready every week.
I think what people don't see is that maybe you need to give this offensive line more credit than just Ezekiel Elliott being able to run the ball. Why has Dak Prescott not been able to throw an interception yet?
Decision making?
Yeah, it could be, but the pass defense has been excellent in my opinion. He hasn't been hit as many times. You know, Romo goes out there, he gets hit once, he's out. Dak can take a few more hits, but I feel like that's a key reason that people don't see of why Dak has not yet thrown an interception.
Dak hasn't thrown an interception because Dak is not really taking that many risks. This is what I like to call the Dak and dunk offense. He hands it off, he throws the ball like 3 or 4 yards down the field. I'm not really that impressed by Dak Prescott.
So let's talk about Dak. Dak versus Romo is a hot topic right now. I'm thinking this is not a problem. I think you can put either one of these guys behind this offensive line. With Zeke Elliott, they have success.
The question
You're
is,
not pro Dak. You're thinking Romo, and he's healthy, put 9 back in there.
Yeah, put 9 back in there if he's healthy. But then again, I don't know which Romo I'm going to get. Is this the one that's going to, coming off injury? But Dak Prescott, let me throw you some stats about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's 21st in the NFL in yards. He's 29th in touchdowns. His touchdown percentage is 2.6, which is 29th in the league, So, I mean, like Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson said, Dak can win us games, but Tony Romo can win us the big games.
Dak's more bus driving, in your opinion.
Okay, but he's been out there 5 regular season games. This is a guy.
These teams combined have a 4-11 record.
Okay, but
that's a good point.
The Bengals were 2.5-point favorites. We went in there, we shut them out through 3/4 of that game.
Dak physically didn't do that. You're not giving the defense any credit.
Okay, and with Romo, you're 15-4. He's 15-4 in his last 19 games, 25 comeback wins. I mean, and we're in October now. I give Dak these next 2 games. You have, game against Philadelphia this next week. You have a bye in between Philadelphia, so you have 2 weeks to prepare for that game.
Green Bay bye week, then
Green
Philly.
Bay. That's
and
right.
I feel like just Cowboy fans are just forgetting about, how good Romo's been. This is a team that went 1-11 without Tony Romo last year. So that's why people are just so excited. Yay, we're winning without Tony Romo. It's just because they have
But then what's the next month coming up? November.
Yeah.
Tony Romo, 20-3 in November as a starting quarterback since 2006. He's 13-0 at home. They have 2 games.
So you're making Jordan's point for him. Romo should start in November.
Yeah.
But in December is where Romo struggles. So maybe we put Dak in December?
No, Dak.
Alternate?
Dak even said this is Romo team. Everyone knows this is Romo team. The future looks very bright with Dak Prescott as a quarterback.
You got to leave Romo in.
But you don't believe the future is now?
No, the future is not now.
Team.
It is the president.
Let's see what Tony can do.
Yeah.
Thoughts going into Green Bay this Sunday? Do you think Dak can get the win? Tough environment. Lambeau's always tough.
I have full confidence that they can beat that bad man in Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
I don't think he's that bad. I actually think he's overrated. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to lose that game.
All right. So 4-2 going into the bye, according to Jordan James.
Yep.
We're going to step aside for a quick break. When we get back, we'll reflect on a Texas Rangers season that ended earlier than many of us anticipated. Keep it right here on SportsZone.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
I will not be news today. I will not make another push to be the first man in space with frosted tips and a puka shell necklace. I'm Lance Bass, and I will not be trending today because there is a much bigger story that needs to be heard.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Who this ball club is and who they've been all year long. Cole did what he needed to do. We failed to make a couple plays behind him, and we talked about it. The team that makes mistakes is going to be in trouble. Bottom line.
We just saw Rangers skipper Jeff Bannister there. The Texas Rangers entered the postseason as the top seed in the American League, but were sent home for the second straight year in the divisional series by the Toronto Blue Jays. To help us all make sense of this sudden conclusion to the Rangers season is Travis Buckner and Kyle Humans. Travis, what went wrong for the Rangers this postseason?
I wish I could put my finger on one thing that went wrong, but literally everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Rangers. I mean, starting pitching, the bats didn't show up. I mean, everything. I can't even put my finger on one thing right now.
I mean, you got to give the bullpen a little bit of credit.
The
that was
bullpen,
the one shining
Bush was
moment.
That's the
oh,
silver
incredible.
lining. The silver lining is the
Absolutely
bullpen.
incredible. But like you said, spotty offense, poor starting pitching, both of those are just recipes for disaster.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, you saw that in all three games. It was a huge part in why Texas is sitting at home watching the ALCS.
If one part of your team cannot show up, the other part of your team has to show up, and neither team showed up right now, or this series.
I think we have to look at the two aces, Cole Hamels and Yu Darvish, all season long. You've got those two. Teams are looking at that from an outside perspective. These are the top two pitchers maybe any team's putting out there in the playoffs. Cole got shelled. You got shelled. What do we think, guys?
I mean, like you said, Hamels 6 earned runs in three and a third innings, and he had one strikeout throughout. He led the team all season with 200 strikeouts. Yu Darvish, 5 earned runs, 4 home runs in 5 innings of work. That's very un-Yu Darvish-like. And I don't even know what team. I don't know what pitchers showed up in this series. It wasn't the Yu Darvish we know. It wasn't the Cole Hamels we know. I hope something changes over the offseason. I hope something changes. I hope they use this as fuel to add to the fire to show up next season.
And the worst part about this is not the fact that it actually happened. Yes, that's awful. That's baseball. That bad starts are going to happen in a starting pitcher, or as a starting pitcher. But the worst part is that this is what we've wanted for years. Yeah. John Daniels and this Rangers organization have just been waiting for this moment where you line up Cole Hamels and Yu Darvish together, both healthy at the same time in the postseason, and it almost seems like it should be easy, and it should be whenever you have two aces like that out on the mound. And the fact that they didn't, not only did they lose, they got shelled and just absolutely run-ruled basically out of their outings. It's pretty unnerving as a Rangers fan.
And I like what he said. I mean, last year whenever we got knocked out of the postseason, I thought, you know what, Yu Darvish will be back next year.
Exactly.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happens again this year, even though Yu Darvish is back.
It's
But it's even
worse.
uglier.
It's worse.
Yeah, it's worse
You
than
had something
that.
to look forward to. Now not so much, and it brings me to the point of Beltran, some of the older players that were on this roster. Was that maybe their last chance to go out with a World Series title?
You know, Beltran will be back, 2 more years on
Yeah,
his contract?
he's got 2 more years.
Honestly, I don't know if I re-sign Carlos Beltran. I mean, he's going to be 40 years old next season. He's already said he's going to come back next season no matter what. But the Rangers need a DH. So, I mean, that may be their best option. I mean, another guy, you got Mitch Moreland on the free agency
Who's
block.
going to play first base?
I mean,
I'm
early in
not
the season,
re-signing Mitch Moreland.
Early in the
That's not
season,
a
that's what
thing.
everybody was saying. It was get rid of Moreland, but then Fielder goes out with the neck injury, and he's got to retire. So
you also do have Joey Gallo coming up, though.
yeah, well, Gallo.
I know he's Joey Gallo, and I'm not as high on Joey Gallo as a lot of people
I don't think
are.
the Rangers are that high on Joey Gallo.
Exactly, they used to be. Yeah.
I think once he came up that first time, it was a complete bust. That kind of just like demoted his entire trade value. So I don't know what they're going to do with Joey Gallo.
I mean, and going back to Carlos Beltran, the guy got 2 hits in the entire postseason. This is a guy who we brought in as an all-star at the trade deadline, brought him in hoping that he would give some pop in the middle of our lineup, some veteran presence. Didn't do anything in the postseason.
He batted .295 in the regular season,
yeah,
182.
182 in the postseason. And
completely different player.
It's not only him. I mean, Lucroy, another trade deadline acquisition, 083 with 1 hit in the entire postseason.
292 in the regular season. Nothing.
Exactly. But Elvis Andrews, another bright spot, the
the
only
line.
bright spot in our offense, the only one hitting over 300. So, I mean, you have the veteran presence of guys like Andrews and Beltran. Beltran, not so much anymore. Beltre is going to be there for another couple years, and man, I don't know. He's an ageless wonder. I don't know how he'll play until he's.
I think Beltre is more valuable in the field than he is as a hitter. Nowadays, he's more valuable as a fielder.
What about Jurickson Profar, the chosen one? Some would say. You talked about Elvis Andrus. Career year, was great in the playoffs. Profar's come out and said he wants to play shortstop. Do you maybe look to move Elvis, or do you just look to move Jurickson?
You know,
talking about moving positions,
or maybe you even look to trade one of them.
Oh no. You know, I'm a fan of Profar on the field, but when he said that was probably, I think one of the most selfish things you could do is say, if I'm not playing shortstop next year, I want to be traded. I think that's a selfish thing. He played second base, he played third base, he played first base. I mean, he looked like a professional first base when he was in the stretch every time.
Oh
yeah. But you can't. The years Elvis Andrus had this year, there's no way you're going to trade him for Jurickson to come up. There's no way.
I mean, I completely agree. Andrews has been the face of your franchise since 2010.
Yep.
He's been a heart and soul of your locker room, your clubhouse, and he honestly is the backbone of this team, along with some of the other guys such as Fielder and Beltre, and those guys who have been there for a while. And if you trade that away, you're just giving that up for nothing. I mean, and Profar, yeah, he's a great player. Like you said, I love his stuff on the field. And if he's going to be a great player, he needs to move to where he needs to be in order to help his team out the most.
I know we're going to have to shift focus now from the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, it's put it in perspective. We need to really pay attention to a team that's actually going to have some have some postseason success in the Dallas Stars. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
I love it, and it's a great segue,
I'm a huge
Kyle.
Rangers fan, but the Stars, they're going to actually have the postseason success this year.
Speaking of those Stars, we're going to preview the Dallas Stars coming up next with a special segment with our very own Joey Catalano. So stick around for some hockey talk right here on SportsZone.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's the people. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? Because love has no labels.
Riding shotgun with me now is Joey Catalano for a very special segment we like to call Joey's Stars in 6. The Dallas Stars are coming off a season where they had the best record in the Western Conference and won a playoff series. Stars general manager Jim Nill has spent another offseason mending this roster in hopes of a deeper playoff run. Joey, take us through some of the shakeups in this team from the offseason.
Well, first off, Kyle, great lead into our little segment here. And you know what? Really, the Stars last season, their defense was kind of built on Lincoln Logs. Now they're replacing it with some steel beams. Some of the Lincoln Logs that are gone this season. Alex Galagasti, veteran guy, played a lot of minutes for the Stars. on the power play as well as just in big minutes and big games. But he just really wasn't cutting it in terms of turnovers, and so he's gone. Jason Demers didn't really make a huge impact on the ice, but he's a big character guy in the locker room. They're going to miss him. And Chris Russell, a guy that came in on the latter part of the season and into the playoffs, blocked a lot of shots for the Stars, but really the Stars fans knew he was going to be more of a rental player, I think, and he's gone. Also, a couple forwards that they're going to miss this year: Travis Moen, Vernon Fiddler, Colton Sevier. Those are 4 guys that played a lot on the penalty kill this year, or excuse me, past season, and they're going to need to fill those spots. The Stars are, if they want to continue to stop other team special teams like they did.
And Vern, a big guy off the ice as well in the locker room. He was a leader for this team. So let's talk about who has come in to fill the shoes of some of these players.
Well, the steel beams that are coming in to replace these Lincoln Logs, you got Dan Hamhuis, who was a character guy up in Vancouver. He wasn't a big points production type guy, but he was a guy that can come in and really just do the right things real well. And that's one thing the Stars need. They also add some veteran depth along with Johnny Oduya, John Klingberg, but then that also opens up more room for more younger defensemen. We'll get to that in a second, but the Stars also added the likes of Yuri Hudler, who spent a lot of time in the Detroit Red Wings organization. So he's a guy that knows how to win.
Won a cup in 08 with Detroit.
Yes, exactly. Championship pedigree and a guy that can teach the Stars how to win consistently in this league. And then also Adam Cracknell and Andrew Bodnarchuk are 2 guys that played in the minors with the Colorado Avalanche organization last season. They're going to be looking to earn permanent roster spots as the season moves forward.
So those are some of the new players for the Dallas Stars this year. Joey, what are your 5 keys to success?
Oh, these 5 keys are going to be the most important ones. The first one's goaltending, and the goaltending was atrocious in the playoffs. Even though the Stars did win 50 games last season, each goalie getting 25 wins apiece, no goalie was able to come up with the big save in the big game, and that's a huge problem because if you want to win consistently and get back to the playoffs and win in the Central Division, you're gonna need to have consistent goaltending.
Okay, and the second, defense.
Defense and special teams. I mean, if anything, goaltending's 1A and this is 1B, even though we put it on the second point for the Stars. Defense and special teams, like I said, the young guys are coming in on defense, but the Stars on the power play against the St. Louis Blues in the playoffs were 1 for 25. That is not going to cut it in the regular season or the postseason if you're trying to make deep runs and win another conference championship and Central Division championship. So those are 2 things that the Stars really need to work on, as well as, like I said, the young guys coming in.
One of the young guys that is your third key to success was Stephen Johns, who played awesome defensively in the playoffs against St. Louis especially.
Yeah, Stephen Johns is one of those young guys that came in also at the end of the season, but he played a lot of playoff minutes. Then you also have some other guys or the young guys that are going to fill in on D, because Coach Lindy Ruff, General Manager Jim Nill, they want those young guys. They're ripe. They spent a lot of time getting ripe in the minors, and now they're ready for picking. They're ready to go up to the big club and see what they can do. Stephen Johns, Jamie Alexiak, 2 big bodies that hit, adds a lot of size where the Stars lacked last year on
Big
defense.
time,
And they're going to hit, they're going to protect the front of the net, and that's going to help out number 1 and number 2 keys.
But with that size, they didn't lack any speed. The Stars are still one of the fastest teams in the NHL.
Exactly.
Number 4, the injury bug.
The injury bug's biting. The injury bug's definitely biting right now. The Stars, the World Cup killed the Stars in terms of players that went down. Cody Eakin's gone with a knee injury. Matthias Janmark's going to be gone. He's got a knee injury going on. And then also Ales Hebsky, because the World Cup, is out with a groin injury. Those are going to be 3 guys that they're going to miss, but the young guys are going to have to come in and fill it up.
And then your 5th key, big expectations.
Big expectation. Last time Stars had expectations like this was in 1999, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. And when you got guys like Kyle putting on the hat when they're talking about Rangers, you know you got some new eyes that are going to be on the Stars this year. So hopefully they can live up to those expectations.
Stars season picks up tomorrow night. That is a wrap for today's show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at UNT SportsZone. And don't forget to check out Mean Green Game Day right here on NTTV 2 hours before every Mean Green kickoff. And we will see you next week right here on SportsZone.